Hi and welcome to this demonstration video. We're going to be looking at how we can add expert reviews to any page. Um, so I made a little list here of with the things that we're going to look at. So the first thing we're going to look at is how do we make a basic API request, and there's a few things involved in that. How do we customize expert reviews through our online interface? And when I say online interface, it's really the client dashboard, which you have access to since you're a client. And then we're going to look a little bit at the components of our live API. There are really just two parts. It's a JSON response and the template file that actually interprets the JSON and presents it as HTML. And then we're going to look just real quickly, how can we customize the template file? All right, let's get to it. So yeah, we're at our dashboard. We can see that this account, which is just a test account for us, this account have access to expert reviews, video reviews, and aggregated user reviews. But we're going to focus on expert reviews in this video. So first thing we want to do is go to the live API page. Here we can access the documentation. We have some example files. We see the current manual here. We can download that. But first, we want to take a look at, how do we do a request? How can we customize it? So I'm going to go ahead and actually hide the aggregated user reviews and the videos. We can see here we have two templates which we offer. Basically, they are the same. Well, they work the same. It's just different designs. And first thing we're going to want to focus at is the basic live API settings. You can get some help by looking here, but you can also look in the manual for more information. So the first thing we want to decide on is which of Testic servers should we target when we do our request to the API. So we have a few options here. I'm going to choose UK because I am located in Europe and I want quick access times. So the live API language, well, that's basically determined by whatever you choose here, but you can override that. So for instance, I could set Spanish even though I'm requesting the UK server. But we're going to use default here. This is not something we need to get into now. Product match method, yeah, that's really important. It's about how do we use unique identifiers, unique product identifiers when we do requests to Testic's API. We need to do that because that's how our API knows for which product you want reviews for. So you can request with MPN plus a brand name, or you can request with EAN or UPC. We basically consider EAN, UPC to be the same, it's barcode identifiers. This statistics, we don't need to worry about that. You can actually see your statistics here and how you've been using our live API. So first, let's just do a trial request. Okay, so we see we got a response there, and we change to business template, and we see that the response looks a little bit different. You can also test with different products, but you're going to be testing mostly on your own server. So that's actually going to be the next file to download. I'm sorry, the next step here to download a template file locally and start using that. So I'm just going to right click, save link as, and yeah, I've done this before. I'm just going to overwrite it, save here. So you see it's my C test and then a JS folder. And then we want to go to the documentation, choose an example file. We're just going to download that. Also, go to my downloads, copy that, and put it here. Yeah, as you can see, I've done this before. So we want to rename this too simple. Okay, let's not call it. Let's call it test one. That's fine. And then let's actually open this in a browser and see what happens. Okay, so basically nothing happens. The reason for that is that we need to edit it here in our editor. So you see it's an empty HTML file. This part is what is doing our request to the testing servers. We can see here that we are passing this as parameters. Well, basically the unique identifier is here, the MPN in combination with the brand name. So if you use MPN, you also have to add a brand name. If you use EAN or UPC, you can just, well, you can skip this part altogether. You don't have to pass a brand name if you use EAN UPC. That's only required when you use MPN. You can also actually add the you can do a request with both EAN UPC and then also have MPN plus brand name. So that's important because if if we don't have a match, then you will get an empty response. And the other vital part here in the request is that we are actually pointing to our locally hosted JS file or template file. So I put it in a JS subfolder and I'm pointing it to it correctly. This was actually the reason why it wasn't working. So let's take a look at it now. And now we see we get a nice response, but it's a little bit, it's taking up the whole screen. So I'm just going to make it a little bit more narrow. So div style equals, let's do width equals 800 pixels. And let's have a margin of 20 pixels. Okay, and then we just need to close the div. So I'm going to reload. So, I did something wrong here. Yeah, I didn't. Oh, I missed that one. I'm going to reload, and there we go. So we see it's more narrow now. Looks better. Okay, so we've already made a local request, and we pointed to the local JS file. That works. You can, you probably gonna have it like well, maybe not even specify that, but you're gonna give it the full path here, like www.mydomain.com, and then something like this. Or you can just point to it like this. Okay, let's see, where's the next thing we want to do? Let's take a look at our list. So we've done this, we pointed to that. Okay, so embedded versus versus the popover version. What we see here is the embedded version. It's usually placed, well, if you have a one-pager design, you can place it anywhere. Or if you have a tabular design, you can place it in a tab called reviews. But then we also have a popover version. So let's take a look at that. So the popover version, you can see we have it here. That's a little bit different. That's usually something that you want to have in your, well, in the header near the product, near the product image perhaps, or near the product name, or even near the buy button, because it's going to display these stars you see here. So when I click that, it's going to show you, well, basically the full live API. And you can close it here, or you can click anywhere else where the page has been dimmed to close it. Okay, we're going to remove that again. So that was the embedded version versus the popover version, but I also want to show you how you can just easily add that, because you can actually run the popover version together with the embedded version. That's actually pretty common. People, our clients tend to want to place this, like I said, near the buy button or near the product name, because it will give you the stars. So let's just save this and reload our little test file. So we expect to see the stars up here. So when I click here, we can see that we get the popover version. So some clients use only the popover version on their pages. Some clients use only the embedded version, and yet others use both. It's all up to you. Okay, let's see what the next steps are. Yeah, speaking about product identifiers, you can see here that we are actually in this, we're actually doing a request using both EA and UPC, and then we are also passing along the brand name plus the MPN. And this is really what we recommend, that you use both. If you have barcode identifier like EA and UPC, you pass it on like this. Even if it's a UPC, you need to call, name it like that. We really don't think there's a big difference between UPC and EANs. We consider them the same type of identifiers. And then you have this part. Okay. Yeah, so product identifiers, extremely important, because if you're passing a product identifier that we don't have, then it's just going to return an empty response. So let me demonstrate that so it's really clear. I'm actually gonna put this one here because I noticed it's not in here. So we're gonna add that there. Let's just remove this temporarily and let's save. And then let's add some junk here, like this, and see what happens when we try to load that. You see, we get an empty response because our servers or our database doesn't contain these identifiers. Let's use whatever we had there and try again. You see, now we get a response. So it basically works like this. Our API, if you send both EA and UPC and brand name plus MPN, then our database, we will look first for the EAN. And if we can't find anything, we will use MPN and brand name. All right, let's move on. Yeah, changing the design template. Well, we already did that, but let's actually download. Let's choose. Okay, which one did we have? We had the business template. So let's choose a colorful template, and let's choose the server. And so immediately when I make any changes here, those changes are saved to this this file which you download. So I'm gonna click Save As, and I'm gonna call it actually by a different name. So I'm gonna call it Colorful. Save, and then I need also to point to this other template file, and then we want to reload again. So we expect it to look a little bit different. Yeah, as you can see. Okay, great. So that's been demonstrated as well. Next thing, I want to show you how can you customize the expert reviews through the client dashboard. Well, we've been using full here, but you can also choose custom, and that will give you some more options. We basically split this into 3 sections: the general settings, expert review summary section, and expert review list section. So in the general settings, you can choose to exclude any of these 2 sections. So let's take a look at this one, and we load. And so this part here, all the way down to expert reviews, this part is what we call the summary section. And then we have the expert review section. So let's see what happens if we decide to hide this section. So I'm gonna click reload. As you can see, the only thing now is that we have the expert review list. But we want to show that. We can also customize inside the summary section here. We can actually customize a few things because as you see, we have, okay, I'm gonna have to reload this to view it again. So here we have the ratings distribution, the overall score, and we have pros con section, the award section. So we can actually, let's see what happens if we hide the pros con section. So I'm going to reload that. And you see the pros con section was removed. Now let's also hide the award section. So you see. So again, immediately when you do these changes, it's going to be in your template file. So you want to save that and overwrite whatever you have locally, and the changes will be there. But for now, we want to show these. Similarly, you can do changes to the expert review list section. So there's various things here. You can see the descriptions, what it's doing. Perhaps the most important is languages. Because let's say you only want to have English reviews. Well, then you just write the short name of the language. Like we say here, write ESD. That's only going to give you reviews in Spanish and German. But you can also use locales. Let's first, before we look at locales, let's reload this and confirm we're only getting English reviews. Actually, if I keep on clicking here, eventually I'm going to get to the US and the Australian and all the other countries which has English as default language. But you can also be more specific. You can say, I only want English, but only from the US. So when we reload, you see now we have UK. If I reload this, I'm going to get US only. You see, it's only US reviews. So that's one thing you can do. You can also choose several languages. So you can, let's say we want, let's do German, let's do Swedish, and let's do Danish. And then we reload. So you see, now we get the German, and if I keep on clicking down here, eventually we're going to get to the Swedish reviews, I think. Yeah, but there's a lot of German reviews. I'm not going to do it right now. So that's how you work with languages. We're not going to have anything there right now. And then what else? Yeah, we can show the review site logos. That's by default, that's set to hide, but we can also choose to always show them or only show them if there is no award of the product. So this is what we mean, what we call awards. So you see here now, when I chose that, I'm seeing the logos of the websites where we got the reviews from. So you see here, this site gave this product an award, and we are showing the award, but we're not showing the site logo for this specific site because that's what we chose up here. So just to demonstrate this, I'm gonna set German here, and then I'm gonna go to download and save link as. So I'm just gonna overwrite this. Yes, and then I want to reload. So you can see now those settings we chose are immediately taking effect. All right, good. Now let's go back to our list here. Okay, so we've done this. Now let's take a look at the JSON response, which is really the core of the Live API. And let's also then look at the template file and a little bit how can we customize the template file. Okay, so what we want, I'm going to change back to, no, let's not do that. Let's actually keep what we have just for demonstrations purposes. Okay, so I'm bringing up the console and I'm hitting F5, and this part, this is actually kind of the basic settings of the Live API. And then we have, if we look at the form data, this part, this is also passed on as parameters. And it's all the parameters that are sent here is all going to be dependent on which settings you do in the client dashboard. So let me see, let's just, because it's a little bit of a mess, let's decode it, paste that, and from that, this looks a lot more intelligible. So let's see what that produces. So you see this looks a little bit like a mess. Let's bring in Firefox actually, because I think it has a nice parser. So the same request. Here we can see the EAN and the MPN and the brand name by the way and a few of the settings we did. So you see our article ID. This is basically our own internal identifier. There's a lot of information here, obviously. And yeah, there's basically a lot of information. I'm not going to go into, there's more explanations about this in the manual, but you can actually build your own template, parse this JSON or exactly how you'd like. But for most clients, I think it's easier to just use our default template, do the settings here, and then if you want, you can modify these template files. So let's actually do that. Let's modify a template file. Okay. So reloading this, and let's say we want to add some space to this one. Let's inspect. So you see this is powered by class, and let's add some space below it. So let's margin bottom. Okay, let's add 30 px. You see, it got some space there. So we're just going to search for this class inside the template file. So the template file is basically a bunch of JavaScript and HTML and CSS. And we were pointing at this one. So let's choose that one. So let me just find that. Oh, it's a class I'm looking for. And here is the CSS for that class. So we just add some more to that. And dun, dun, dun. And the thing we wanted to add is margin bottom equals 20 px. And now we save. I think I did 30 px here, so it's going to shrink a little bit when I do the reload here. You see, we still got the space. And if we inspect this, we can see that you see this was added. So we made this template system to make it really easy for our clients to basically do customizations like that. So if there's anything I want you to take from this guide, it's really how important it is that you understand this with product identifiers. Because if you pass a product identifier that we do not have, the response will be empty. So you need to make sure that you're using identifiers that we have. And of course, you can't know that, but you can send us your product feed. And already in our database, we already have like millions of MPNs and EANs UPC. So chances are good that it will have a good effect, even if you do not send us your product file. But it is recommended practice. All right, so I hope you found this guide useful. And if you have any additional questions, please just send a support mail to us. We'll be happy to help you out. Okay, thank you.